Hey, Grace and friends of Grace outside the Grace United Methodist Church. This is Annette Roberts, a senior pastor, coming to you today from home. I'm a bit under the weather today, but I wanted a chance to speak with you rather than a written blog this week because of what's happened over the last several days with our global denomination that is the United Methodist Church. I've been watching, as I know many of you have, to see how it is that we will define the future of who we are and who we will be living towards what I believe to be the vision of God. My emotions have run the gamut, as I'm sure many of yours has. It's been a pretty big roller coaster ride. Most of you know that I was highly supportive and am highly supportive of the One Church plan. That was a plan that I believe allowed for the United Methodist Church to remain a big tent. It allowed, in a sense, grace to be grace. We have the conservative of the conservative to the progressive of the progressive and everything in between, which is where most of us are. And let me reassure you, that's not going to change. That isn't what our denomination chose to vote this particular General Conference. Rather than the One Church plan that would allow folks to follow their theology and their faith with integrity from whatever perspective they're coming. We have voted a plan that what many of us believe is rather exclusive, most particularly to the LGBTQIA community. And that breaks my heart, as I'm sure it does many of yours. I wanted to say a couple of things to you today. First, grace will continue to be grace. We are a welcome and open community that is invitational to all who would walk in our doors and those that we go out and try to bring into our doors, because we want everyone to experience the love of God and the acceptance, grace, and mercy that God has for all of God's beloved children. As I've said in the last couple of weeks in my blog, the only trials and charges that Jesus was ever a part of in the scriptures didn't turn out well for him. He was accused and convicted of loving the wrong people, and that kind of has a familiar ring for me to what we've done in the last couple of days. The traditional plan that has been passed, if it remains as it is, increases the punitive nature of how we treat our brothers and sisters who are in the LGBTQIA community, from all the way from ordination to same-gender weddings. Pastors would still be able to be brought up on charges and go to trial for that. And again, from my perspective, the only trial Jesus was a part of did not turn out well. And I do not believe that he invites any of us to either enact crucifixion, either literally, spiritually, emotionally, on anyone, or to be crucified for loving the wrong people. And so, again, Grace will remain a church that is supportive of the LGBTQIA community. One of my favorite things about Grace United Methodist Church is that, in fact, we do have folks from every different perspective. If we didn't have very conservative folks, then I wouldn't have had a conversation probably about 6 to 9 months ago with a good friend who's been at Grace for the 16 years I've been at Grace, who came up to me and said, "Pastor Ned, I've had a revelation." And I frankly said to him at that point, I really don't have time for you to tell me about your revelation. He says, "Well, it's from Jesus." And I said, "Well, I know, but I've got a lot of stuff going on today, and so I'm not sure I have time." He goes, "Seriously, Nanette?" And I said, okay. He said, I've struggled with this issue around the homosexual community. And he said, I just have not thought that I probably could stay with my church if we decided to be supportive of same-gender weddings. He said, but I'll tell you what my revelation has been. My revelation is that Jesus tells us simply to love everybody. We're just supposed to love everybody and let Jesus take care of the rest. And I responded back to him and said, I do believe that that's a revelation from Jesus. And I am glad that you shared it with me and that you were determined to stop me going from here to there to tell me what that revelation is about. He is still at Grace United Methodist Church. I also had someone in my office in the last several days who's part of the LGBTQIA community who said, Nanette, I'm not sure I can stay with the United Methodist Church, given what the denomination has decided in terms of people like us not being acceptable. I shared with her that she has made a huge difference in our community of faith, in how we are able to be welcoming and open and how it is that grace proves the nature of God in the Scriptures, that all are welcome, all are supported, and all have gifts to share. That's really who we are, friends, and it's who we will remain being. Now, what we need to do is take a deep breath. My understanding is that this traditional plan that has been voted forward now has to go to a judicial council, which is our version of the Supreme Court, to be considered either constitutional or not constitutional with our current standing in the Book of Discipline. If it's ruled non-constitutional, which some think it will be interesting to see what happens from there. And so what I'm saying to you is that this hasn't completely been decided. And so we just need to take a deep breath. I also received a text last night from one of the members of our church that said, Annette, for the first time, I am embarrassed and sad to be connected to the United Methodist Church, and I'm a lifelong Methodist. I am too today. We have said to the world that we are exclusive, and we know that our local church isn't that way. And so what I'm going to ask us to do is to let this play out. It will not take long for these decisions to come down the line, and depending on what happens, we will certainly respond to that. My hope is that we can stay in United Methodism and that it will be the heart of our faith, as it has been for so many years, only taking a step forward. If that's not what happens, then we will decide as a church together what direction we will go. But we are not going to change our welcome and open stance that we have for one another. One of the things that probably gave me the most optimism, yes, believe it or not, signs of hope, during the course of this last few days of the General Conference is that I believe it was Sunday night or maybe Monday night when it became clear that the traditional plan was moving forward and was likely to be the plan that was finally voted. Our young clergy and lay folks throughout United Methodist Church put out a letter and a statement for those under the age of 35 who wanted to sign. And in 13 hours, they had more than 15,000 signatures of folks under the age of 35 who are supportive and inclusive of our LGBTQIA brothers and sisters. Friends, what that means is that the future of the church is a future that is inclusive. It's a future that is filled with great promise. And so those of us who are over that age, we're called to be bridge builders. We're called to respect and treat with great steadfast faithfulness and dignity those who have gone before us, whose perspectives are perhaps different. Many of those folks are as inclusive, if not more so, than we are. We are to choose to respect those who have gone before us, and we are to choose to open the doors for those who come after us. And so I would invite you to be with me in being that bridge, most particularly at Grace United Methodist Church, between the past that has brought us this far on our way and the future that will take us ever closer to God's kingdom. I'm happy to be the senior pastor of Grace United Methodist Church because of how you are responding. I rejoice that God continues to live at all of our campuses, loving and serving and inviting all of God's people. And I look forward to visiting with you and to worshiping with you and to bringing God's message of good news to our worship services this weekend. A lot of our brothers and sisters are wondering what this Saturday night for us too, Saturday night and Sunday are going to be like in worship. Let me guarantee you something. God's good news is that which rules the day. Love wins. Grace is always the foundation of who we are. And we will continue to move out in God's vision that grace might finally embrace the world. I will see you soon, friends.